Hi everyone, welcome to this video. I'm Shana. How are you today? I'm a metaphysician and a spiritual life coach, and I help women restore their internal identity and authority so that they can feel more confident, more empowered to go and live life on their terms. And today I think I'm going to open with a little quote. Excuse me while I didn't prepare this. I've just literally thought of it as we opened up. This is a little Because I Love Myself by Lucy Cavendish. The cards. I'm going to pick a card just to get on a nice in a nice energy for right now. And then we're going to go through exactly what self-esteem looks like, the backbone of it, what it looks like in real life. And we're going to go through what self-seeking is today. Whoops. I've got one here. Oh, two fell out. Let's have a look. They're just little affirmations, I think. Yeah. Respectful words. Respectful words. I speak about myself with integrity and respect. I lovingly change my patterns to reflect the infinite love I know I am worthy of. That's really nice. Really, really nice. Okay. Now we've set the tone for the session. I'm going to go through today what self-seeking is. And self-seeking is part of the anatomy of self-esteem. So self-esteem is a more like an umbrella kind of term for our estimation of ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. It includes self-seeking, self-respect, self-confidence. And today I want to go through the first in line of the anatomy of self-esteem, which is content that I've created, and I go through this content in my school community, and I will drop the link below in the description for you. It's basically a place for women to come together to restore our inherent self-worth, self-confidence, to become empowered, to operate from a sovereign internal authority and not look externally for our validation and significance all the time. So self-seeking, and I'm going to read this. This is from the program. I won't go through it all. It's free to go through. There's a free community membership for you, so we can all be there together, helping each other, supporting each other, and learning from each other. In it, we learn the anatomy of self-esteem, and we go through that course together. We also go through other mini challenges, a journaling a journaling challenge, a digital detox challenge, and there's one other surprise challenge that I'm coming up with that I will announce in the group. But anyway, let's go on to self-seeking. Self-seeking is the turning inward as a legitimate reference. Turning inward as a legitimate reference. I must apologise. My tongue's really tired today. I've done a couple of videos, so that might be why. All right. What the self is. What the self is the self-seeking is the capacity to turn inward and consult your internal experience as a legitimate source of information. Self-seeking is the capacity to turn inward and consult your internal experience as a legitimate source of information. So what could that mean? Well, let's read on. Psychologically, the self-seeking establishes internal orientation. It answers the most foundational question of selfhood. Am I allowed to look inward? Am I allowed to look inward? Because I will bet that is the last thing you all want to do. Look inward, because you're scared of what's there. You're scared of what is in the darkness. You're scared of the things that only come to you in the deepest, darkest night. It's what wakes you up in the middle of the night, what prevents you from going to sleep. It's what prevents you from being the person you want to be. Because we're all here from hurt or trauma or misperception, from listening to other people's opinions. And none of it's true. And this is what we're going to combat. Let's continue. Thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, impulses, and reactions are permitted to register internally without being immediately dismissed, overridden, analysed, or outsourced to external authority. So this all means it's similar to self-awareness, okay? We're not just thinking about our thoughts, though. We're not just being self-aware of our thoughts. We're looking at the whole of us, how our body reacts, the tension we feel, how we react to people when they say certain things. Body sensations, the emotions, yes, the thoughts, but a lot of the time we don't stop quite enough to hear the full extent of our thoughts either, though, do we? Self-seeking does not interpret what is found, judge it, regulate it, or act on it. Its sole function is to acknowledge that an inner world exists and may be referenced. So it's without judgment, yeah? So you're not, what this is doing is giving yourself permission to notice all the thoughts, emotions, body sensations, impulses, reactions, etc. Giving yourself permission to be aware of all of these, to notice it all without judgment. So you're not going, you shouldn't really be thinking that. You shouldn't really be thinking or reacting that way. You shouldn't. And that sends us into the shame and guilt spiral. And we don't need that. We do not need that. I'm going to go straight into how this self is commonly shaped or distorted. This will help you relate to what I'm saying. Self-seeking develops early, shaped by whether inner experience was welcomed, tolerated, or dismissed. And a lot of us can relate to that. Common shaping influences include environments that prioritized obedience, performance, or harmony over internal awareness. So that means we've blocked ourselves from acting on how we were feeling. If someone, let's just say something basic, if someone annoyed us or upset us or did wrong by us, depending on were we to prioritize obedience, performance, or harmony to get acceptance by our parents, that's always our driver. That drives our behavior back from 0 to 7. So whichever driver is working depends on how we responded. So we might have just gone along with it and said, yes, you're right. We might have performed and said, all right, you're right, I need to do better, and you changed your behavior accordingly. Or harmony, and harmony may have just meant you removed yourself from the situation, went along with it, and then distracted from whatever situation was going on. It's all these different little nuanced behaviors that come into play. What else? Common shaping influences include caregivers who responded only to our behavior, not to our internal states. So, I mean, we can all relate to that when we have a small child, like toddler or something like that, and they get upset, they want something and they're getting upset. We often use a distractor. We often do that, but unfortunately, some parents continue doing that as the child gets even older, or the child continues that behavior as they are older. So they never really sit with how they're feeling, what's going on internally for them. They just continue with the different behavior. It's really interesting, isn't it? All right, what's next? Cultural or social norms that framed inner attention as selfish, weak, or impractical. So this also happens a lot when you're a kid. They said something mean, they took my toy, they did this to me, and then parent or caregiver would come, that's all right, let them have a turn. They didn't mean it, they were just having fun. And somehow our feelings were downplayed or totally written off as invalid. I think we can all relate to that for sure. And I'd love to know, as we go through these, I think we've got a few more. I'd love to know your experience of this in the comments below. I would dearly love to research this more so that I can do even more work or more videos on it, or more work in the community to really help you all with this. I think we can all relate with most of these. Survival patterns where external attunement was safer than internal awareness. Far out, this is deep. Yeah, external attunement. So what that's saying is, could be something like we had something, I don't want to go volatile, but that is one example, or a more powerful or overpowering person. Survival patterns were used. So we learnt to respond in a way to that more overpowering or dominant person, instead of having using the reference, the internal reference that we weren't safe, that we were being treated badly, whatever the case was. I'm going very gentle here and top layer here. I'm not going into specific deeper issues and examples, and that's purposely done. All right, I think you all get the gist. And in the community, we go a bit deeper in this because that's a safer environment for us. Yeah. Let's go on with distortions often emerge as adaptations. So distortions of the self-seeking self, distortions of turning inward as a legitimate reference is habitual outward focus. Okay, so we're constantly worried about what other people think, what they think we should do, and we change our behaviour accordingly. Automatic deferral to external opinions or rules. So that's like, you're going to buy a new car and you have to ask 20 different people what their opinion of a good car is and what they would buy, instead of just doing your own research, I guess, and making your own judgment. Yeah. Always asking, what should I do? What would you do? That sort of thing. Disconnection from bodily or emotional signals. So you don't even feel anymore when your body is reacting, when your nervous system is online and it's screaming out at you. You don't attune to your intuition, is what I want to say. And that's part of your nervous system alerting you. Or even feeling the relax when something is the right decision for you, is there. These patterns are not defects. They reflect intelligence responding to context. So again, it's all learnt behaviour. It's all how we have consciously, subconsciously, nervous systemly, I don't know how to say that properly. It's how we have internally perceived the environment and adapted to it to keep ourselves safe. That's what we do. Let's have a quick look at what blocks or undermines self-seeking. Self-seeking is commonly undermined by internal rules and relational dynamics such as, are you ready? Beliefs that inner experience is unreliable, irrelevant, or dangerous. So this screams of having an overpowering presence in your in your childhood, and someone who's controlling. Narcissist always comes to mind, that sort of personality. Someone who you just perceived as bigger, stronger, more knowledgeable than you. It could have been an older sibling. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It's just our way, again, of our perception and our internal way of dealing with it, with our environment. Let's have a look what else. Fear that noticing internal states will lead to overwhelm or loss of control. And that's really, really valid. I'll just quickly explain it. So when our nervous system is not used to doing something, let's just keep it really basic. When it's not used to doing something, in this case noticing your internal state, it's not used to doing something, it wants to rise up to doing that thing, it immediately goes, wait a minute, that's scary, that's unknown, that's change, I don't think we're safe doing that. So what I teach in the community is how to do neuro-nurturing. And that is going from wherever you are, whatever state your nervous system is in, and taking small incremental changes. And all the way we are soothing the nervous system and telling it we're safe. And we do that through a little routine, little techniques. Depending on the individual is how much progress you can make, what bigger jump you can make before you need to put these little things, neuro nurturing, into place. Because if you don't, you might get some great progress for a few days, a few weeks, and then overload, burnout. It goes, holy shit, catches up with itself. And you go straight back. So you'll see that all the time with people wanting to make change habits, especially weight loss, exercise routine, getting into something new that they want to do. And it's because they've never done it before, they jump right into this new routine. And it's great for, as I said, a few days, a few weeks, even a few months, and then the nervous system catches up and says, buddy, what the hell are you doing? It is not safe here. We're not doing this anymore. Let's get back to safety. Yeah, that's how it works. And with that, again, to create that safe environment, we have chronic distraction, urgency, or overstimulation. That's our marker if we are out of our safety. That's how we know. We have relational patterns where attention to self felt unsafe or unwelcome. Yeah. So we probably get called selfish, sensitive, can't take a joke. Yeah, we can all relate with that, right? What else have we got? We've got internal habits of immediately explaining, fixing, or dismissing what arises. So that's our way of distracting from it. Explaining, and it's some fluff like, oh yeah, that's because of such and such, and it's you're verbally distracting from the actual issue. You say it's the old, look over there, and they've taken off down the road. That's what a lot of people do, and they don't realize it. And that's what all of this is about. Self-awareness. Yeah, I might do an actual video on self-awareness. It's really important. I think that's given you an idea of what self-seeking is all about, which is the first part in the anatomy of self-esteem. So again, come into the school community. Let's do this together. We will tackle this. We get on top of this, and I educate you not only on how to be self-aware and how to get on top of all of this, but we get the tools to demolish all the blocks, all the programming, all that subconscious stuff that we're talking about, so that you can finally have your self-worth, your self-respect, your self-confidence, and empowerment. You will finally have your internal authority back and be able to create a life on your terms. You will be sovereignty in bloom. Your sovereign internal authority will be restored. I've loved having you here. I'm going to read you one more card before we go. I'm going to, just because I love you. I compliment myself every day. I always make time to notice and appreciate the good things in my life. And I am noticing and appreciating you today. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.